Hello YouTube. I found this book. It's a book of poetry by John Keats, and I wanted to kind of share and review one of his poems, Ode on Melancholy. Melancholy. And John Keats was a romantic poet of the 18th century. He was born in October 31st, 1795, in England. And he's part of the Romantic movement that picked up steam in the going towards 1850. What the Romantics kind of believed was kind of this intense emotion. And it was a little bit of a backlash against the Industrial Revolution and rationalization. They kind of wanted to go back. The Romantics kind of wanted to go back to nature and the admiration of nature through kind of these intense emotions. And so John Keats was kind of one of the fathers, along with Lord Byron, of the Romantic movement. I found this book of his. It's a book of his poetry, and I wanted to read Ode on Melancholy. And says, No, no, go not to Lethe, neither twist wolf's bane, tight-rooted for its poisonous wine, nor suffer thy pale forehead to be kissed by nightshade, ruby grape of Proserpine. Make not your rosary of yew berries, nor let the beetle nor the death moth be your mournful psyche, nor the downy owl a partner in your sorrow's mysteries. For shade to shade will come too drowsily, and drown the wakeful anguish of the soul. But when the melancholy fit shall fall, sudden from heaven like a weeping cloud, that fosters the droop-headed flowers all, and hides the green hill in the April shroud, then glut thou sorrow on a morning rose, or the rainbow of the salt sand wave, or on the wealth of Gobel's peonies. Or if thy mistress some rich anger shows, imprison her soft hand, and let her rave, and feed deep, deep upon her peerless eyes. She dwells with beauty, beauty that must die, and joy whose hand is ever at his lips, bidding adieu, and aching pleasure nigh, turning to poison while the bee mouth sips. I, in the very temple of delight, veiled melancholy as her sovereign shrine, though seen of none save him whose strenuous tongue can voice joy's grape against its palate fine. His soul shall taste the sadness of her might, and be among her cloudy trophies hung. And so I kind of wanted to go over what it was kind of talking about, from what I understand and my own research. So the first kind of stanza, there's three stanzas. The first one is kind of talking about no, no, go not to Lethe, and Lethe was kind of the Lethe is a river in Hades, basically, that makes you forget if you drink it. It's that kind of mythological river that makes you forget everything, basically. And so he's kind of imploring you, when you feel melancholy, not to drink of forgetfulness, or to, it says, wolfbane's tight-rooted for its poisonous wine, nor suffer thy pale forehead to be kissed by nightshade, ruby grape of Proserpine. And Proserpine was the queen of Hades, so it's kind of saying don't let her kiss your forehead. So kind of an analogy or a comparison to suicide. So it's saying don't go into this realm of forgetfulness, or don't consider suicide. It says, make not your rosary of yew berries, nor let the beetle nor the death moth be your mournful psyche, nor the downy owl. So it's saying don't become fascinated by death, basically. Don't become so entranced in your thoughts that you start thinking about suicide or the emblems of death. And it says instead, a partner in your sorrow's mysteries, for shade to shade will come too drowsily, and drown the wakeful anguish of the soul. Saying that if you do kind of contemplate death too much, or become too caught up basically in your own sorrows, you'll forget kind of the depth of the soul. And that kind of goes into the next paragraph. It says, but when melancholy fit shall fall, sudden from heaven like a weeping cloud, that fosters the droop-headed flowers all, and hides the green hill in April shroud, then glut thou sorrow on a morning rose, on the rainbow of the salt and sand wave. So saying, when you do feel melancholy or feel down, that instead of considering suicide or death or forgetfulness, that you should instead kind of observe nature and observe the wonders of nature. It says to glut thy sorrow on a morning rose. So kind of observe nature, observe the roses, observe rainbows, Or if thy mistress some rich anger shows, imprison her soft hand and let her rave, and feed deep, deep upon her peerless eyes. So saying, like, the person that you love, look into the beautiful eyes, basically. Saying all these things to say that you should observe nature and not become overwrought with melancholy. And then it says, she dwells, the next stanza, the last stanza, the third stanza, she dwells with beauty, beauty that must die, and joy whose hand is ever at his lips, bidding adieu, and aching pleasure nigh, turning to poison while the bee mouth slips. Ah, in the very temple of delight, veiled melancholy has her sovereign shrine, though seen of none save him whose strenuous tongue can burst joy's grape against his palate fine. His soul shall taste the sadness of her might, and being among her cloudy trophies hung. So saying, the last stanza is saying that melancholy is part of beauty. Like observing nature comes in a way at a price, like because beauty fades and things die, and nothing kind of lasts in a way. So, but it's not a cause to like kind of sink into sorrow. It's a cause to instead celebrate the beauties of nature and celebrate it even more. With even more passion, because they are temporary. So it's basically the whole poem is saying, when you feel melancholy, don't go into this cycle of melancholy. Instead, realize that melancholy is that you experience melancholy because you also have the potential to experience beauty and joy and all the great things of life. And so, yeah, I guess like that's a part of life. Like death is a part of life, melancholy is a part of that appreciation of beauty, and it's kind of saying that melancholy or feeling down or feeling sadness should in a way even be appreciated, because it means that you can also experience beauty and life to its fullest. Saying like it's only available to those whose strenuous tongue can burst joy's grape against his palate fine. So only those who can really experience joy know melancholy or know that sadness, because you're fully capable of feeling, joy and happiness. And so it's kind of like a different way of like thinking about, I guess, sadness, like those moments you feel sad. Also, should remember that you can also feel joy and happiness, and those things are there for you to experience as well, and not to forget that in your moments of sadness. So yeah, it's a great little poem for today, and I thought I'd just review it. And I want to review more books going forward. I think I'm going to make this channel about books, basically. So, and my obsession with reading and just gaining knowledge. So yeah, definitely if you enjoyed this kind of summary and you want to see more of my reviews, or kind of follow me like reviewing other books about different subjects, more poetry or whatever, then make sure you subscribe or click the thumbs up, and yeah, let's get this ball rolling. So we can like really delve into some deep literature and just like, I don't know, travel in our minds, I guess, because I think that's one of the best ways to travel. Like sometimes, and like one of the cheapest as well. Like sometimes we want to travel and everything, but it's easy to forget that some of the best travels can be done in the mind and through these intellectual adventures. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. And his name is John Keats, and he has a book of poetry. This is the book, and yeah, if you guys are interested, yeah, check it out. So yeah, enjoy, and I guess always remember that sadness is also coupled with joy, and yeah, so there's joy even in that. So I guess I'll leave it there. Bye.